Lighten Up podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you have chosen to join me today for episode 178 Desire. We're going to chat today about why your life may not be working exactly the way you would like it to be, or what you know is possible for your life and your living, and how this concept of desire and different ways to play with it can not only give you clarity to help you out, but also a way out of that kind of stuckness or that thing where you're like, I know there's more possible here, but it is just not coming. Or that frustration that a lot of us go into when we almost chase our dreams and invest a lot of our time, our money, our resources to have those actually come about. And when we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot or self sabotage or those things that we think we want and say that we want and actually chase and go after actually don't come to fruition. Desire plays a hand in hand with all of this because a lot of us aren't actually clear on what our personal desires are. We tend to get lost in other people's desires for us or of us, or we try to kind of not admit what it is we truly desire because, oh my goodness, if you say this is exactly what I desire in my life and my living and you actually don't get it, all sorts of stuff comes up around that. So there's a bunch of different ways we're going to play with this conversation, hopefully just to give you some more clarity and actually allow you to start tapping into the energy of what you would like your life to be and being able to soak and to steep and to kind of nourish yourself in that energy of desire. Maybe a place to kick this off is when you have an energy of desire in your life, something that's actually true for you of what you would like your life to be. It should feel interesting and intriguing and light and like it wants to pull you in. There should be a sense of relaxation and kind of almost this naturalness to it of like, yeah, of course, that thing. So often what we do is we think what we desire is charged and that we have to put a lot of energy into it and we have to fight for it. And there's a lot of interesting kind of intensity that creeps in. What I would invite you to start looking at is those things that you say you desire, that you're somewhat chasing after, that you're really investing a lot in, that doesn't seem to be coming to fruition, but there's a lot of intense energy around it. There's almost this fight for it, the battle of it, this kind of defense of, no, this is exactly where I'm going. I'm going to get it hell or high water. Actually start to challenging yourself. Are those things actually true desires for you? Or are the things that you're really charged around, you're really intense around, you're really fighting and defending for, are they actually desires that have been put on you by other people, that you've kind of picked up on as you've moved and grooved about the way things should be or what you should want? Are you trying to meet somebody else's expectation or projection of where you should go with your amazing raw ingredients of potential that you have? Typically, the things that we're fighting really hard for, not the things that feel really light and easy and joyful and relaxing, are things that actually aren't true for us. Or perhaps they're true and like, yes, that's a desire that I'd actually like to go for in my life, but there's a lot of other stuff in the way. There's a lot of other people's stuff that's kind of clouding your clarity of what that should be. So start to maybe piece this apart for yourself. Start to look at what you do desire for your life and living, what feels light and easy and natural that you may be overlooking. And the things that you have been chasing after and fighting and defending for that aren't coming into your life with ease, are those actually yours? Or are you getting a little bit lost in other people's shoulds? The whole should of it all, right? So it's a fascinating thing to look at. And just to give an example, a lady I was working with last week with coaching, she's been forever and ever and ever, I would say, seeking relationships. She's in her 40s. She's been going after men constantly because that's what she should do. That's what's expected. And it was so expected and it was such a deep should in her world that she really and truly thought that that was coming from an inside, like an internal desire. And every time you would ask her about about it, there was a lot of intense energy. Yes, this is exactly what I want. I've told you a million times. She was very intense around it. There was almost a fight for it. There was a defense of this is what I want, and no matter what, I'm not giving up on it. With that, there wasn't really a sense of lightness or relaxation. And it was kind of funny, over a couple of sessions, being able to piece it apart and pick it apart, starting to look at where she was really entrained to, you need to get married by this age. You have to be married by now in order to have children, if that's what you really desire. All the ways in which her friends had kind of alienated her from social situations because she was a single person and they were all couples, so she didn't quite fit in the mix. All of the invisible projections that her family was sending on her. Once we started to kind of piece all that apart, she started to realize that, oh my goodness, all of this energy I've been using to chase the relationship, to chase the man, to create that, none of that was actually mine. And for her to actually get clear of perhaps number one, she doesn't want a relationship right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or two, perhaps she does desire a relationship, but she'd like to go about it in a different way than this charged, fighty defense energy, actually gave her the freedom to tap into the energy of what she truly desires. And it's so fascinating to me, no matter how you break this apart, if you're talking about relationships, creative pursuits, business development, career development, no matter where you're looking at in your life, our desires are soft and easy and natural, and they are way more energetic than they are this fight, this defense, this thing that you have to constantly chase. And if you're on that path of fighting and chasing and have a lot of intense energy around it, actually tapping into what's true for you, tapping into the energy of the desire and allowing yourself again to steep and to soak in it and to nourish yourself in it, that's the thing that actually lets it grow and come to fruition, by the way. It gets really hard to do when all that intense energy is wrapped up in it. So why do we get lost? Well, I think there's kind of two different parts to this conversation. One is just like this other woman, this example that I used, other people's desires for us really sometimes outweigh because they're heavier, they're charged, they've got a lot of energy. Sometimes they outweigh our own inner desires. They're a little bit louder. When somebody desires something for you, a lot of times they see what they desire as like the best option for you. They look at you and they say, oh, if you had a relationship, you'd be safe or happy or fulfilled. Or they look at you and say, hey, you've got amazing potential to be this in the world. You should totally do this, this, and this for your business to be able to do that. Those are desires for you that other people have. Again, these things are unconscious, and a lot of times people don't mean harm by it. They want the best for you because they care about you. But unless you're willing and able to kind of go, oh, that's their projected desire that they want for me, that actually may not be. It may not actually be what I desire for myself. It gets a little hard to find your own inner desire voice in the mix. People also from the outside have desires of you. And desires of you are a little bit different. They are when somebody on the outside sees you as fulfilling a certain role for them or having some sort of need of you to do certain things. And what comes with that is sometimes even more intensity and a charged space of you have to do this. If somebody has a desire of you to be in relationship with them in a certain way, and you're very sensitive and aware of that, before you know it, your choice in how to engage with them, how to create the relationship in a way that works for you so that you don't lose yourself in it, gets really, really difficult. So a lot of these desires, when they come from the outside, kind of cloud our own clarity of what it is we truly desire. And again, when you look at the energetics of everything life creation, the ones that have more intensity, the ones that are a bit more sticky, are heavier, those aren't true for you. But because they are so intense and so heavy, sometimes it's hard to really tap into the lightness and the easiness, the naturalness of what it is we desire that's more attuned, aligned, and really congruent with the way we would actually desire to build a life and a living. One other thing to add in here in a way that we kind of cloud ourselves from looking at our true desires, this is something I've been looking at personally for a while, is almost this lack of honesty with ourselves or fear that comes up. And yes, fear is a distraction. It just kind of takes you off the beaten path, but nevertheless, sometimes it comes up for us of, wow, if I actually really was honest with myself and said, this is truly what I desire in my life. This is truly what I'm capable of, and this is truly what I'm desiring. Sometimes there's a fear factor that comes in of, well, what if I admit it and I don't get it? What if I go after it and I fail? What if that's something that I desire deep down, but I don't actually think to myself, I'm actually capable of not only creating it, but receiving it as well. Sometimes our inner desires don't match the external life that we've created up until now. And to actually acknowledge something that you do desire that doesn't quite match the life that you have sometimes looks a little bit confronting. It's like, oh my goodness, if I admit that, number one, if I don't get it, I'm going to be super disappointed. I may be embarrassed because, oh my goodness, if I tell somebody this is what I desire and I can't create it, that's a bit embarrassing and shameful. We get a little bit lost in this. So, whether these needs or desires are coming from the outside in or from the inside with your own voice kind of getting in the way of acknowledging it, it gets a little bit tricky. And what can occur in your life is that you actually start chasing things that aren't yours. And when it's not yours, those things don't come easy. So you spend a lot of time trying to create relationships and business and career advancement, body health, even. And the more you go down that path, you get frustrated because you're putting so much into it. But the thing is, that thing isn't yours. That's not something you truly desire. So deep down, you're not really willing to accept it into your space. Or the other thing where from the inside out, you're not being honest with yourself of what it is you truly like to have in your life, and also how you'd like to go about creating it in a way that works for you. Because maybe you have a different way of going about creating a relationship. Perhaps your path to business looks very different than other people. Perhaps your career fulfillment, it looks super different. Maybe you leave a very successful career to do a startup or to take a quote unquote lesser job in somebody else's eyes, but it fills you up in a different way. You may desire to go off the beaten path. Chances are, if you're listening to this show, you're someone who doesn't like the beaten path. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes being willing to be honest with yourself, to truly look at what you do desire and to clear out all of the other stuff, the internal stuff where you're sabotaging and not being honest, and the external stuff where you are allowing other people to cloud your inner desires. If you're not willing to do that, tapping into the energy of your true desire, that lightness, that interest, that intrigue, that relaxation into yourself becomes very difficult to do. So that is the invitation with the show. This is kind of it's a muscle to be built, I would say, and it may look varied ways to some of you. If you are out and about in your life, if you're engaging with people and you start to perceive those projections coming at you, those needs to fulfill their desires, those needs to live up to the potential that they see in you in their way, start to notice that and don't make them wrong for it. Just go, wow, they have a really specific desire of what they want of me. Wow, they have a really specific desire of what they want for me, but that's theirs. That's not yours. Being willing to be aware of it that way will give you more space and more clarity. And then look for yourself of where you're not willing to be honest with you, of what it is you desire, having that inner voice come to the surface more and being able to choose in line with that, even if it doesn't meet and match the external world you've already created for yourself. Would you be willing to look at these two different angles and to start to play with unraveling this for yourself so that you have more clarity, you have more ease, and those energies of inner desires, those lightnesses, that naturalness, that yes, that's so easy, you can actually allow it to be the primary guiding force in your life. And with that, everything should be coming easier. You may have to work your way through some things that kind of rear its ugly head if you're not willing to be honest or you're letting other people dictate. But the more you allow that inner desire that's soft and easy and relaxing and lights you up in a very, very natural way, as more as you let that come to the surface, the easier your external life will get. And the more attuned, aligned, and authentic you'll be in your life path. Have an amazing week. Please listen to this episode again. Let me know how it goes. As always, you can reach me at lauren@laurenpolly.com. You can also join my online free community, the Lighten Up community that is born from this podcast with added content. I'll put the link to join down below. Have an amazing week, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.